then
Hillary has dialed in, so maybe we could open the meeting with a report from Hillary Greenberg. Are you unmuted, Hillary?
Yes, I am now, sorry.
Okay.
I think I caught the tail end of what Claudia was saying about case counts. And just so folks are aware, I did ask Courtney this morning to pull down our we have 6 cases, you know, with the disclaimer, and link directly to the Barnstable County website for the Cape Cod Healthcare heat map, as well as the Mass DPH case counts by town. Numbers change frequently. They each of those sites, I think, have their own little disclaimer on what the number is and what the number isn't. So that's how we'll be posting information on case counts moving forward. I did this week reach out to the Medical Reserve Corps and maybe it was last week, I don't know, and the high school for some face masks. One of our town employees, Rebecca Eldridge's mom, was making face masks as well. So we have more cloth face masks coming in. The shipment from the Medical Reserve Corps has pretty much been all distributed out to our food service staff and a couple of other folks that have wrote in that they are in need. So if you hear of people that are in need, as soon as we get more in, we will distribute them out. So generally folks have been emailing me, and we then put them in a plastic bag that's sealed with their name on it outside the door in the pickup bin. So the restaurants and the food service places, I went and hand delivered those Wednesday night. So all of the folks and establishments that are open took some, except Blackfish Variety. So I haven't been in Blackfish Variety. I don't know if any of you shop there or know if they're wearing cloth face coverings or not.
They're not. They're wearing nothing.
Okay, so I did call and offer them. They didn't want any. They said they had some on order, but everyone else has been served at this point, and I am in the process of writing to our other food service establishments that I suspect are thinking of opening up soon, or, you know, just trying to gauge what people are planning to do going forward so we can get sort of an inspection process in place for them, understand how they're going to be handling takeout or curbside or delivery, and just seeing what their intention is of opening up. So that should go out shortly. You know, it's kind of unfortunate that we have the governor's orders expiring on May 4th, because that really doesn't help any of us here locally. We expect to hear something in the next week or two. Even this morning, they acknowledged that, you know, we're getting calls and questions about marinas, about camps, about swimming pools, about beaches, and we're just not ready to, you know, give any guidance on that yet. So we're sort of in a holding pattern, and I know it's not comfortable or soothing or comforting to anyone, but unfortunately that's just the way it is. So that being said, I did 2 students through the Mass DPH program that have been working with me, and I have shared them with the town of Truro, and we're gonna be working on some social media materials. One of our first outreaches is gonna be our restaurants, and, you know, and explaining the process and why their food is safe to eat, and getting some of that information from them up on this website, along with, you know, standard materials from CDC and DPH. And our students are super overachievers, and they're really great to work with. And so I think this is going to be like really amazing. They're like the best assistant you never had, and they're free. So like, they're just fantastic. So they're going to be reaching out to our establishments. I'm going to send sort of an introductory email explaining who these 2 people are. And then the other thing that they're going to do, which I think I'm going to want to tap into you guys for, is on the same site, they want to have sort of communicators and leaders for public health, like give little blurbs about how they plan to spend their time, or what you're doing now, kind of COVID related, but yet also how you're, you know, wearing your mask to the grocery store, like putting a face a local face to some good health practices. So they're working on sort of their pitch and how they want to get that across. And then I will be reaching out to all of you to sort of give us a blurb and send us a picture of, whatever you're doing, or, something intriguing that people will look at and kind of relate to. So with that, I think I'll pipe down for a while and come back if I have more to say.
Thank you, Hillary. Let's see. The police department, are you on this call?
Yep. How you doing, Suzanne?
Good, Mike. How are you?
Good. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Maintaining.
Yes. No, I just jumped on this morning. If there's anything, I have another call at 10:45, but whatever we can do or any questions or concerns.
Does anybody have any questions for the police department for Mike at this point?
I have just a concern. I have noticed when I'm out and about that a lot of the fire department and police department are not wearing masks. And I feel like that perhaps community members who see that think, well, maybe I don't have to wear a mask either. And just as maybe as a role model and example setting, it would be great if our safety officials could role model mask wearing for the community. That's just a thought I had.
I appreciate it. I know that right now we have about a 30-day supply, and the problem with us in the buildings, out of the buildings, in the cruises, out of the cruises, that if we keep taking them off and on, we'll end up going through our supplies, sooner than later. The state is dropping off 5 N95 masks per officer this weekend for us. And I think those are fitted better and they're more of a long-term item. So it's definitely something they're encouraged to wear them, out in the public, for their safety and the public safety. But I will pass that along and see if we can do a little better at it. And, I just don't want to go through our stockpile when we really need it on a certain call.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions for Mike?
Can I ask a question? Is that okay? I've not.
Of course,
attended
Susanna.
one.
Good morning.
Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be able to listen in. Thank you. I was just wondering if you're getting a lot more calls about domestic violence and, is that becoming an issue in Wellfleet? I mean, I know you can't give any details, but just as a general observation.
No, right now we're not seeing any uptick in that. I mean, we are seeing a little bit of an uptick in some mental health calls and some people that are really struggling right now through this event. And some families, we may get called to kind of keep the peace a little bit, but no more than usual, but it is something that we are keeping an eye on.
Okay.
I see Leo's on today. We do have our Navigator program still in full swing. They're doing a lot of remote work for us. Right now, we've had some people go up to Cape Cod Hospital for some assistance. So I wouldn't say that the domestics are on the rise or anything right now, but it's something we're keeping an eye on.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know.
Okay. Let's see. Let's go to Sandy Galvin with you. Any update from the food pantry?
Hi, nice to talk with everybody and listening to what's going on. So the food pantry, our next drive-through is going to be on Thursday, April 23rd. And for anybody who doesn't know, it's outside the our pantry area at Great Chapel in South Wellfleet. And the time is 10 to noon. And what we're doing is we're working really hard to add more food items for each family. We're increasing produce, we're increasing meat, and just general choices. We've been looking into purchasing cases of food that aren't readily available to us right now, and from our local a couple of local wholesalers will be getting food from them for the next shipment. The last few last couple of drive-throughs, we had 65 and 68 families, and some of which are new shoppers to us. We had, and one thing that we really encourage is for people to shop for their neighbors. We also have the COA van that the last time had 5 families or 7 families. It's great that we can do that, and we encourage the collaboration. We don't have any prior sign-ups or any vetting or anything like that. Anybody who needs food, just make sure they can just drive up for the food, and we have a safe system in place so they don't need, the volunteers don't need to interact physically with anyone. And also, I just wanted to let everyone know that besides the Wellfleet Food Pantry, there are other options for people on other days. Lower Cape Outreach on Mondays has a curbside pickup at their warehouse in Orleans on Brewster Cross Road. And the Family Pantry is open almost every day. I have their schedule, but anybody could find it on their website. And also the 8 outer Cape towns also have individual drive-ups. So we try to get as much food, and we encourage people to use our services. We don't need to have any, as I said, anyone sign up. They just drive up, and we try to be as efficient and give people as much food as we can possibly give during this time. And so spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Leo or Paula, do you have?
Can I just ask Sandy a question?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Go right ahead.
Oh, yeah. I just was wondering, is there a place people can go so they know what days and times the food pantries are available? You might have already said that and I missed it, but I just, for anyone listening, and if anyone
the times and days are on the Lower Cape Outreach website. It's LCOC at lowercapeoutreach.org, and they have all the times of all the other pantries as well.
And did you say that the food bank is that your food source is still strong? You're having enough food available?
It is. We are still getting food from Greater Boston Food Bank. We can't get everything, so what we're trying to do is supplement the Greater Boston Food Bank variety. We ordered a lot of food a couple of weeks ago, anticipating the drive-throughs, but some of the food, the produce, just some of the items we can't get from them. So that's the food that we're looking to get locally through the local wholesalers. So hopefully, I think we're doing okay right now.
Okay, any other questions for Sandy? Let's move to the navigator. Leo or Paula or Bree, do you have any reports?
I think no current updates, but I think just for those on the call who are not familiar with the Navigator program, my name is Leo. I oversee the Navigator program at Outer Cape Health Services, which essentially is a gap fill for any Wellfleet resident, whether you are an Outer Cape patient or not. Essentially, our service is designed to help increase access to services. So if you or if there are any other residents in Wellfleet that are looking to access services, you can do that through the Navigator program at Outer Cape. And accessing us can be done through, we have a phone number, email. Phone number is located on Outer Cape website through the services tab, community-based services, and the Navigator community resource navigator tab. So, I mean, I think as far as any recent updates, I mean, I think right now Outer Cape is still in contingency planning regarding COVID-19. The Wellfleet Clinic is still doing testing. And, I think right now, what I am understanding is there is a little bit of cautious optimism as we are kind of flattening the curve on some of this. But the Navigator program remains available for those who are needing connection with behavioral health services or substance treatment services. But if there are other needs that people are bumping into, that we can be available to help make that connection. Paula and Bree are also on the call. Bree is our program manager, and Paula is our community resource navigator for Wellfleet. So Paula or Bree, if you have any updates.
Okay.
Not, then I think if there are any questions, we are available for questions.
Any questions about the Navigator?
I
Claudia?
just wanted you all to know that we put some information about the Navigator program in the Wellfleet Elementary School newsletter that went out yesterday. And Paula was going to deliver some cards or an information sheet to go out in the school meals for pickup so that people will have a paper copy
Great.
of
That's
how
great.
to get in touch. And that also went out through Common Table as well. So people, if they're picking up meals, they will know about the Navigator program.
Thanks, Claudia.
You're welcome.
I do have a question. Hi, Leo, and thank you for what you do. We actually have someone staying with us who's living with us, accessing that program. It's been really, really a wonderful thing that I've seen happening with the support people get through you. So I just was curious, because I don't know that much about it myself yet, how far-reaching when you say access to services. Is it services in Wellfleet, or is it like, for example, a family that is in financial need and needs to be able to find out what other support they could get? Would someone be able to sit down and help them with that, or is it just not sure what it includes?
Yeah, so it's across the board. So it would be a full spectrum of any access to service. So whether it's financial support, would be access to services outside of Wellfleet. So I know that there can be quite a list of resources that are available. And so, right now, mostly what we are doing is televisits. And so it would be a phone call to kind of assess what the need is, and then to connect that need to an available service already, and to work with the coordination of that.
Okay, wonderful. I love that the school families are finding out a little more about this program now too. So I think people will need it. Thank you.
Hey, Leo, could you repeat the phone number for people
Sure.
to call in so that anyone listening will have that number?
Sure, the phone number is 774-209-3222. And again, that number is 774-209-3222. And essentially what we are asking is to leave a message, because oftentimes we are engaged in something else that is going on, but typically we are responding within the same day, if not 24 hours.
Thanks a lot, Leo.
And that number is going to be in the notes that I'm taking for this that are also going to go on the website along with the recording. So
Thank you, Courtney.
yep.
One question, what if you're not a patient of Outer Cape Health Services?
All residents can access the service regardless of being a patient or not a patient.
Excellent. That's nice to know.
Hi.
And just another
Sorry, it's
note.
Bree.
Bree?
Sorry. Yeah, hi,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, that's all right. Don't say
I-
sorry.
I was muted.
Oh, no.
Just wanted to give an update. I was actually out in town yesterday, dropping off some boxes of food for some vets and widows. Cape Cod Food for Vets is running a program. Actually, it's happening today too, if anybody has somebody there where that's in need. Still doing the weekly call with Vincennes Homeless Outreach Team and the Homeless Prevention Council regarding any housing unstable folks that we may have. Think I may be touching base with Hillary possibly at some point about expanding a food program from Truro into Wellfleet if needed. Those would probably be the updates for this week.
Okay, thank you very much, Bree. I'd like to do the report from the senior center that we actually have, in addition to what we've been doing, which you're all pretty much aware of. Starting next Friday, we're going to produce and deliver hot meals to a list of people in Wellfleet. We're starting with the people on the reassurance list to the police department. And we're looking for probably a cap of 30 individuals or families capacity per week. So this is going to start up on Friday. Mary Ann Lucas, who is the chef here at the senior center and ServSafe certified, and we have a certified kitchen. It'll be produced and distributed through those, through that auspices. Needless to say, we haven't done it before, but it seemed as like the common table is doing breakfast and lunches. The brown bag system is doing a lot of the lunch and the food needs, but the once a week hot meal seems like a good plan on a Friday afternoon, so that'll go through the weekend. Right now it's a stew or a hearty soup or something of that like, and then another salad, which is not going to necessarily be green salad. It could be black beans and rice. It could be potato salad, a hearty salad to go with it. So it should provide a couple of meals over the weekend per person. And the way to get somebody on that list is to contact us here at the Senior Center at 508-349-0313. And if no one answers the phone, just leave a message with your name, telephone number, and the person's name and telephone number and street address, and we'll do what we can to get them added to the list.
Suzanne,
Yes.
is that inclusive of the mustard seed recipients from Wellfleet also?
We need a list of the mustard seed recipients. We don't have that as yet. And I have a feeling that a lot of the reassurance people are also mustard seed recipients. So there's going to be some crossover between the lists. And that's what we'll be working on to coordinate those lists.
Is Pat still on? Pat, are you on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Linda has the list, and I gave it to her about 5 weeks ago.
Who has the list?
Linda.
Linda has. All right. Well, right now we're alternating being in the building, so I will email her and have her leave it on my desk.
Because aside from the reassurance program, these people are known shut-ins. That's different than the reassurance program. So some of them might cross over, but we know these people are shut-ins. You know?
Right, and then we also have our regulars at the, I know Sandy referred to the van. We have between 6 and 7 regulars that we take to the food pantry during regular times. So we are adding those people to the list automatically. Yeah, I don't think it'll be a problem. The only problem we had was one reassurance person said she's vegan, and that's not going to happen every week.
I can cook for her. Just FYI too, I did reach out to Claudia, and there are a handful of families also.
Good.
So they're on our list as well.
Yes, those will be included.
Excellent.
I forgot to mention
Good.
that.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's
So
good.
do you need cooks?
No, Marianne can do the cooking. We just need volunteers. We have volunteers on our list over here to deliver. We take the people, try to group them geographically, pack
Okay.
up the meals, and send them out with 5 or 6 with one volunteer, or per volunteer. Sally just put an order this morning in for small paper shopping bags with handles and some appropriate containers for the food to go out in. So.
Well, I have delivery packages, currently at the church. So if we needed, food containers for that, I could provide.
That'd be great. Thank you, Pat.
And if somebody wants to volunteer to drive, they should just call the COA?
Please.
Okay, great.
They could also probably send the email in to the needs group. And we
Okay,
can get it that way.
great,
Right.
great.
Yeah, it's brand new, so we're feeling our way through the first week or 2 of this. We don't have a month under our belt like Common Table does. Bruce, speaking of Common Table, Bruce, would you like to give us a report?
Sure. Actually, today is our 1-month anniversary.
Well, congratulations.
We served our first meal on March 17th. And if we didn't hit it this morning, we will hit 2,500 meals by tomorrow morning.
Wow.
We now have the police department, the fire department, and Outer Cape Health Pharmacy on our delivery schedule. So we are also now serving all of our first responders.
I get served as well.
What's that?
I get served as well on my day at the office too.
Oh, congratulations. That's great. Good to hear.
All right, so the COA needs to be served, included in that.
Well, we are regularly doing now between 140 and 150 meals a day. Trudy and the kitchen staff have really gotten this down to a science now, and actually in the evening before each morning, we know how many deliveries we have, and everything is prepared and ready to go usually by 8 o'clock the next morning. So we're just going to keep cranking away doing what we're doing, and everything is going fine. And by the way, for any of you on the call, including the chief, who were responsible for yesterday's drive-by, unfortunately, I was not here. I was out getting some wills signed, so I missed it. But I got texts almost immediately from all of my crew, and they were all crying. So whoever was involved in that, we really, really appreciate it. It was a wonderful moment.
Good job, Courtney.
Thank you, Courtney.
It was a lot of fun, and as soon as we drove by Trudy and she started crying, I completely lost it. So I didn't stop. I cried all day yesterday. So it was really special to be a part of, and I hope that more things like that in the community take place.
To answer Marianne Bragg's question, Marianne, most days we are now serving breakfast and lunch. And one of the reasons for that is depending at the beginning of every week, depending upon the food that we get donated from other restaurants and other purveyors, most of the mornings we're now serving breakfast and lunch during our deliveries. So it depends upon the day, but it's usually breakfast and lunch.
Claudia?
Bruce, I had a family yesterday that had been getting meals from Common Table, but now they feel afraid. They feel like they might get sick by having the meals delivered or from the people who are making them. Could you just speak to the Serve Safe training and the safety that's happening in the kitchen? I know it's been excellent, but I just would like to be able to have people hear that.
Yeah, I mean, from the very beginning, as a matter of fact, you can see I still have a mask on because I was there this morning. Everybody is always masked. If you've seen pictures, you'll see, I don't think you've ever seen anybody that doesn't have a mask on. Everybody is always gloved. Obviously, as a restaurant, Trudy has a supply of gloves, hundreds if not thousands in the place. So we're exercising distancing in the facility to the greatest extent possible. That doesn't mean that on occasion someone might be walking to one part of the kitchen and walk by someone, but for the most part, everybody has a work area and we're distanced as much as possible. Everyone is masked and everyone is gloved, and you know, I think that we're exercising as much in the way of safety precautions as we possibly can.
Thank you.
Claudia, if I could just give a little PS to that. When I first found out about the Common Table and was talking to Trudy, getting her ideas on how she started, I found her amazing. She not only follows Serve Safe and its ramifications in COVID-19, which are a little bit different, but she also has an attitude of protection for those meals and those people she's serving. She stressed to me, and it was so remarkable, you have to be firm. And if you have, and anybody that comes to work for you, you have to say to them, you have to have a strong, a thick skin, because I'm going to let you know if you're making a mistake. And then I don't want you here. You know, she's very effective. She's, I just think she's a stellar example of how to coordinate something like this as well as she has. So.
Thank you.
And Hillary's been there, and I suspect that if Hillary saw something awry, she would probably let us know.
Janet?
Okay, I want to just say that the 246 has 4 freezers, which we're giving to the Wellfleet Food Pantry as they can house meat and Anything that we have in the freezer is going out in the Wellfleet Food Pantry, give out foods. Secondly, I'm
Okay.
going to put my SPAT board hat on now and just let you know what SPAT has done for the shellfishing community. The first thing we did was the food share program, which was using local shellfishermen and oysters and clams and purchasing them directly from the distributor after they were processed, and have handed out so far $7,200 worth of shellfish to various community kitchens and other people who can use them for food throughout the Cape. That's from Hyannis all the way up to P-Town. So that's the first piece of it. The second thing is that we have a fund. We've always had a relationship with CDP as far as processing loans for our shellfishermen and shellfisherwomen. And what we're doing now is enhancing that dollars with cash in order to provide seed money for shellfishermen and women that need to start buying seed now and don't have the income to do that. So that's being processed by the CDP, but heavily endowed by SPAT. And the third thing that SPAT is doing is they're working with Lower Cape Outreach with an amount of $50,000 given to Lower Cape Outreach specifically for shellfishermen and their families who come there for extra support with rent, mortgage, and food. So SPAT has taken what revenue it has allotted for this and done a great job directly assisting the industry of shellfishing in Wellfleet.
Thank
So
you,
there's
Jim.
some income, okay?
Okay, I think we've heard the reports. Is there anybody from the public who has a question about any of the reports or any facet of how Wellfleet is managing during this crisis? If you do, just identify yourself and speak up.
This is Dennis Cunningham.
Good morning, Dennis.
How you doing?
Good.
I just had a couple of things to say, a couple of comments about things that have been mentioned before. The first one being the numbers of reported cases. Of course, they're not meaningless, but I don't think anybody should take any kind of sense of security out of the fact that there's only
right
4 cases here. We have to assume that everybody is positive for the virus. That's how we have to behave. So regardless of what the numbers are, it really shouldn't give us any sense of security. And also the fact that the numbers are kind of frightening. The numbers that are frightening are the amount of people who are tested that are asymptomatic. They did a large number of tests in homeless community shelters in Boston, and it was kind of incredible the amount of people who tested positive who were asymptomatic. So I just wanted to say that about the numbers. And in terms of masks, I'm not sure if the town or I know it's been on. I've seen it on Facebook. Somebody linked it to how to make masks, non-sewn masks out of t-shirts. That's pretty simple, just with a pair of scissors. And the mask actually is 2 layers into which you can insert a paper towel. And the paper towel is much more effective in screening the virus, and also then can be removed and replaced as often as you want with paper towel or napkin or coffee filter. Just some really great videos out there in terms of how to do that. Another thing I just thought of when I was driving down the highway, if the town could, I'm going to use the word commandeer. That's not the word. I don't have the right word, but the Wellfleet drive-in marquee, Watt marquee, and perhaps maybe other. I'm not sure if there are any. I think those 2 strike me as really visible, to put like one phone number on there, or the Wellfleet needs email address on there. That might be a great use of space. This is kind of funny as we were talking. I'm just going to give a shout out to Spat. The Holbrook oyster van just pulled up and hung 2 pounds of scallops on my door that I ordered yesterday and paid through PayPal. So that was a treat. Let's see. No, that's all I have to say. Just one thing that's a little worrying to me is the just realize that Memorial Day is only, I don't know, 4 weeks away or something like that. And I'm not sure if there's any contingency planning or looking ahead to that weekend when our population might quadruple in terms of our beach access and that type of thing. It's just something that I've been thinking about and wondering if there's any thought to closing beaches or other stuff. And I have seen also, it's really disturbing, a lot of trash on the side of the road. People are chucking beer cans out the window, and I know that you're seeing a lot of trash in the woods too. So we should all be, I know Mike mentioned it on his website, just to give the police department a call if you see anybody dumping. So, all right, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Dennis, I can speak to the planning for the summer, just from my point of view. It's Suzanne. There's the emergency management team is dealing with that this afternoon at a separate non-public Zoom meeting. On Tuesday, I have a Zoom meeting with the beach managers of Cape Cod to discuss scenarios for the summer. And then on Thursday, there's a meeting that I will be able to listen into among the town administrators and town managers and the National Seashore from Chatham to Provincetown on the same topic. So yes, everyone's talking about it. And I think the goal here is not to do it in a silo fashion, but to do it in recognition that what one town does will impact its neighboring towns.
Yeah.
And that everybody has to work as a regional approach to what we're going to do.
That's good to hear. Thanks.
You're welcome. As soon as we know what we're doing, we'll let people know.
I have a couple things that I'd like to just report.
Sure.
Not necessarily report, but I'm just throw out there that, I think that obviously our summer season here is the time in which most residents make their incomes for the year. And part of what I am concerned about is the economic insecurity that's going to be sort of being pushed out through that season. It just doesn't seem likely that we're going to be able to have a normal, by any means, normal summer season. And as a select board member, I'm sort of interested in any way that we can sort of ease economic uncertainty or insecurity. And there's not many levers that we can pull. There's the Navigator program and what they're doing and what the federal government can do. But I do think it's important that, with an uptick in agricultural practice and food insecurity, that the town encourages backyard farming and as a way to sort of feel secure and also potentially generate some revenue off their properties. I just wanted to throw that out there and have the town sort of support that sort of activity. Right now there's, Falmouth, Yarmouth, Dennis, and Harwich and Orleans all have the same right to farm declaration. And I think it's time Wellfleet sort of put its money where its mouth is and supports it. So
well, thank you. Sorry, Mike.
Yep.
Based on right to farm, I'd like to ask Francie Rudolph from Sustainable Cape to give us a report. Are you unmuted, Francie?
Unmuting. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. I agree with the Right to Farm Act. That I think that's really, really important. And Truro, where we're based, although we're a regional organization that operates from Provincetown to Falmouth and on Nantucket and the Vineyard, Truro doesn't have it, and we've had a hard time getting it through, unfortunately. And I think that's wrong because the state of Massachusetts already, as you know, has a set of laws. This is just something that supports those, basically. But I think that food insecurity is obviously a very real issue that we're experiencing, and it could get worse. And so the more people that know and can produce their own food, or neighbors that can produce more food than we need, the better, basically. So I thought I'd just give an update of what Sustainable Cape has been doing. There's a new updated version of what farmers and fishermen are selling direct on the sustainablecape.org website. That the farmers, most of the farmers that we're talking to are growing more this year. In addition, many grow for restaurants, and those restaurants, as we know, are experiencing a lot of difficulty. So there's going to be more food out there. So we're planning our annual farmers market manager convening, and so that will take place shortly, where we'll be talking about protocols for COVID-19 and how to run farmers markets with best practices that seem to be going on across the US. We've also, with some of our children's garden programs, and Claudia would be happy to talk to you about this, we've been giving out some seeds and some soil to get the children planting even some small crops like peas, and just connecting people back kind of to their backyards and their food source by growing a little bit of their own through our school programs. And then we're very thankful to SPAT. We've received some of the clams and oysters for our veterans program, which is called Project Gratitude. So we're still delivering meals to veterans every Wednesday, 2 meals a week. So thank you to everybody who's doing great work in feeding people.
Thank you.
Suzanne, this is Hadley from Homeless Prevention Council. Can I just jump in really quickly?
Sorry,
Hi there.
I didn't see your name. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. About the financial insecurity issues that are being raised, and just encourage folks to reach out to Homeless Prevention Council. We have 5 case managers that are all available remotely and doing intakes over the phone and online, in addition to a Spanish speaking staff person. So I just want to encourage folks who are facing financial insecurity and any housing issues right now, just to pick up the phone and give us a call and see how we can be of assistance to locate resources and walk people through what the various options are right now. We're happy to help and available for anyone that needs us.
Thank you, Hadley. And that was Hadley from Homeless Prevention Council in Orleans.
Right.
What is your website?
So our website is hpccapecod.org. And we can be reached via phone at 508-255-9667, or our email is info@hpccapecod.org.
Thank you.
Hi, Hadley.
Hi.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm good, Bruce. How are you?
Right.
I'm hearing lots of familiar voices. Nice to be with you all virtually.
Nice to hear from you.
Could I add to some of these points as a member of the public?
Of course, Susanna. Go right ahead.
So I wanted to ask about the short-term rental situation. And I just wanted to add, it links into the homeless prevention and also financial situation, I think, for many of us. One of my family's main sources of income is that we rent rooms through Airbnb in the summer. Now, when this crisis hit, we actually shut down immediately, and we've now taken in 2 elderly and somebody on disability, as we've given them year-round contracts. and they have a safe place to stay over the summer through the crisis. One of those people was actually kicked out by a landlord in Eastham, and there was no real help available there. I tried to help as well, so we took him in. But I wanted to add there, that puts us in a financial hardship because we are not getting one of our main sources of income. And I approached the town to see if there was a way to adjust our taxes for, since we had taken in affordable. And I was told that the deadlines were all had passed already, or they couldn't be adjusted. And so kind of my question as a member of the public is, if short-term rentals are not supposed to happen right now, and I think it's a big concern that some people are still renting, is there a way of addressing some of the housing needs and then also supporting those short-term rental owners who are saying we're shutting down because we think it's safer for the community not to bring in anyone from the outside, and we want to turn it around and help the community? So that's kind of one of my points. And the other point goes to the farming, the right to farm. And I've seen a lot of interest from the public we ourselves have a small farm. We have chickens and goats, and so the process to get the permit at the moment is very involved and complicated, I find. And the other part to that is that if you get a permit but you add even just a few animals, you have to go through the entire process again. So it really becomes prohibitive to people being able to react in the way that Mike suggested in this crisis, where if a family has 6 chickens, you have breakfast every day, just by feeding your chickens the kitchen scrap. And so so I wondered if the act can't be pushed through fast, or if that's not in the town's interest, which I hope it is, can at least the process to getting to a permit be made easier for people? Because I understand you need to know where the animals are, you need to look at the premises, you need, all that is really important, but the process is really difficult right now, I find.
So I can speak to that for a second, Susanna.
Thank you.
And so the right to farm declaration, which is a standard declaration, basically there's a model bylaw that the state of Massachusetts puts out. That declaration actually does not supersede any town regulations. It's more of a declaration of values. It basically, it can help sort of prevent nuisance lawsuits for people who are practicing farming. The other thing is that it usually results in a town having an agricultural commission, and those agricultural commissions, which would probably not happen as quickly, those agricultural commissions sort of act as a advisory commission to the town to promote agriculture in the town. They also act as a mediating body to sort of mediate disputes between neighbors and people practicing, to sort of head off sort of lawsuits or problems that could occur or arise. So even if you're, obviously, even if you're permitted by the town, you could still have a lawsuit or something like that. So the right to farm declaration is basically a reiteration of state law, but it also enshrines a sort of values declaration in the town that it supports agriculture. And there's one specific line that I think is important, and the town may allow things right now, but it does not state certain things in its bylaws. And one of the things this does is says that it is hereby determined that whatever impact may be caused to others through normal practice of agriculture is more than offset by the benefits of farming to the neighborhood, community, and society in general. That does not, however, change any permitting processes, allow animals where they can't currently be allowed. Everything still has to go through the Board of Health and that sort of permitting. That said, if there's an agricultural commission those bylaws can sort of be adapted through an advisory capacity to the town. And so this is really about sort of declaring the town a right to farm town. As 140 towns in Massachusetts, actually the majority of towns in Massachusetts are right to farm towns. So we are in the minority. And so basically it sort of declares that. And then it sort of starts a conversation about, you know, what agriculture means in the town. How can we sort of make it easier without having disputes with our neighbors? And what kind of an agricultural community do we want to have? So these things don't happen overnight, but I think a right to farm declaration is something that's kind of long overdue. And I think it's a good opportunity for people to feel comfortable in expanding their backyard farms under this sort of economic insecurity. And I mean, let's face it, our food systems are pretty insane. I mean, you know, Smithfield Pork, we saw what happened there. China just actually bought that company, and that will be like the largest pork producer in America will be now shipping all its pork to China to be processed and then sent back to the United States. But, you know, the important thing to know is that, you know, just by passing a right to farm declaration, it won't change anything as far as our permitting processes go. That's something that would have to be worked out through all the various committees and up the ladder. And if the town wants changes in those things, that will go through a process. So that probably won't happen overnight, you know.
That's very helpful explanation. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody else have a question or an update that they haven't given us yet?
Could someone just address the tax situation that I asked about? Is that something someone can address?
I can speak to that also. And that is something that is all tied into a affordable accessory dwelling bylaw. And that is being worked on currently. It's being reworked by a committee in town. And it's a process for sure. And nothing's going to happen overnight on that. I'm sure of that. That's something that would have to go through town meeting also. It's not likely to make it on any warrant. Well, actually, it cannot be put on a warrant this year.
Is there any assistance? Is there any assistance available to those who have trouble paying their taxes? Upcoming taxes?
That I don't know. Mike Travato might be able to speak to that. I don't think so. But.
There is, I could actually chime in on that one.
Yeah.
There's a taxation relief fund that's maintained solely by the town of Wellfleet, and there's an application process that goes before the committee. And I do know that Manny Smith, who's the chair of that committee, missed the deadline for getting the information in this year's tax bills. But if you go on the town website to the assessor's page, there's a link to the application form. It can be filled out and mailed in.
Thank you, Suzanne.
You're welcome. If you have a problem with it, Susanna, just let me know.
This is Mike Travato.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Just wanted to add a little bit to that. If someone is having difficulty right now relative to their tax bill, I would contact the collector's office, and they can work something out with you on maybe a payment plan to help you with any short-term needs you have in that regard. To Mike's point about the accessory dwelling units, we do have an affordable accessory dwelling unit program right now that's ongoing. More than happy to talk to Susanna or whoever might need more information. It's on the town's website, as is my contact information. And that may or may not be a solution for you. That one's tied directly to affordable housing and restrictions relative to rent caps and the income of the person that's renting from you. So it's more restrictive than an ADU or accessory dwelling unit that Mike was, Devasta was referring to that we're working on, which is a little further down the road from a legislation perspective.
Okay, thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you very much.
I did want. I have one more point for Susanna. There is some rental assistance through the housing authority for people who can't afford normal rents. So you may be able to, if you're renting at sub-market rent, but you have to rent at regular rents to people, there is some assistance in the town for people to pay that rent. So, you know, you can look into that. I think you contact the housing authority about that, or people can.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
I think we've
I have
learned
a
this morning that the town website is a source of much information for everybody.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, Claudia pushed that. I have a question.
Go ahead, Janet.
Okay, my question is, as we were talking about, as Dennis Cunningham came on the line about no sense of security from the number of reported cases, I think he made a good point. But it just hit me, and I don't know if this is possible or I should even be asking the question, but is there any way we could know the number of people in Wellfleet who've been tested? I think the number of cases is an empty number unless you know the number of people who've been tested in a town.
That's a Hillary question. Hillary, are you still on this call?
Yes, I am. We don't know the number of people that have been tested. That's not a number we're provided. We see that statewide, but that's not yet broken down by zip code or town. So if and when we see it, I'm happy to share it, but we definitely don't have it right now.
Yeah, I mean, you understand where my thinking's going.
For
I mean,
sure.
we could have 4 positives because we tested 10 people. Is a
Yeah.
lot different than having 4 positives if you tested 800 or 1,000 people, you know? So I think that with that one number without the other doesn't really give a picture, so.
Oh, I agree. And I also think that Dennis's point that we all have to assume we're positive, even if we're asymptomatic.
Yes, yeah, that's very true.
So that people don't take, like, oh, I don't feel bad. I don't have any symptoms is not an accurate indicator of whether they're sick or not.
Absolutely. But what we're looking for is compliance. We're looking for compliance so that the virus doesn't spread. So any number or real reality and true facts will help compliance. We need to seek them out.
I agree. All right, and we've been at this for an hour. Anybody have a final word or a question? Paula Erickson, I see your hand.
2 things. Just wanted to respond to the Housing Authority monies for rental assistance. I believe they're not for anyone except for year-round housing. They're not for seasonal rentals, unfortunately. So that's been my experience. It may have changed since I dipped in, and Hadley can speak to that. I don't know. And then the other, not to discourage you from looking into it because you should, but if these are seasonal or temporary situations, as far as I know, those funds will not be available for that.
I did give everybody in our house a year-round contract, so they have security. So that would apply. Yeah.
Yeah. So they should definitely apply then. And otherwise, I know we touched on this before. The prospect of creating a town fund for financial assistance to kind of bridge a gap along, because right now someone can go to SPAT if they're this kind of person, someone could go
right
or else if they're this kind of person. But I can say from working in the 3 towns, Truro, Wellfleet, and Eastham, that Truro has the Dexter Keyser Fund for anyone who's a town resident of Truro. End of story. And it makes my job really easy in Truro if there's someone in need. And it has to go through an agency. It has to be a vetted source. It can't just be like, hey, I need money. But but that's been a marvelous, marvelous thing. I know Elaine McElroy has thought about trying to establish something in town, but if not now, when, you know, this is the opportunity to make something like that happen. That's just more general. And even I've even heard of had people wondering, where can I give if Common Table is all set, or if, you know, is there something more general for needs that will arise later that aren't necessarily food related, but could be, I can't pay for my medication, or I can't afford my car payment, so I'm going to lose my car and then I'll lose my job, you know. So I would love to see a town fund come out of this.
Paula, is that a gift fund, or is that a taxpayer fund supplemented by gift fund?
It's private.
The one in Truro? Yeah, it's private. It was a philanthropic gesture, I think, upon someone's death. Yeah.
So that's, and it's open for funds, so that's how it keeps refilling, or is it just
they seek donations.
They seek donations. Okay.
I mean, we're at the end of this meeting, but I think that is a good discussion for the next time, because don't want to not take up on it, but I think there's a lot of things that have to go into it, a lot of discussion points that we would need to do it right and to make it accessible would be the two goals.
Suzanne, Mike Devato.
My point of view. Go ahead, Mike.
Just quickly mention, I don't know if it's been mentioned already, but the Cape and Islands Major Crisis Relief Fund is out and active right now, looking for donations, but also if people are in need. That's a county-wide program, but they obviously can help individual towns or people, anyone on the Cape. Certainly would highly advise people look into that, because it's a well-organized fund, and it's sort of an offshoot of the Cape Cod Needy Fund that the Cape Cod Times annually runs, and it's extremely well organized, and I think it's a good resource for people.
Right. Courtney, that information's on the website, correct?
It is on the website, and it was brought up on Tuesday's call as well, and it'll be in these notes.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to call an end to this meeting unless somebody has something earth-shaking they'd like to contribute at this point. I want to thank all of you for spending your time and caring about Wellfleet enough to participate in yet another Zoom meeting. So we will be doing this open meetings for those of you who have joined in this morning from the general public on the 1st and 3rd Fridays of the month. And to those of you who are on this group in general, it's every Friday at 10 o'clock for us. So I will see the group next Friday at 10. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Suzanne, very much for doing this.